Welcome back to another episode of the Philosophy of Chillin. And as y'all see, I'm not by myself again. I have another co-host coming and joining me and willing to share their ideology. So we're gonna tap into it. With that being said, y'all know I'm Dunlap the Connect. But y'all don't know the person that's joining me today. So can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure thing. What's good, y'all? I'm James Walker, from Oakland, California. Went to Howard Sierra, worked together in different capacities. I'm also the founder of Walk Through Travel, which is a travel company that I started. And yeah, I mean, it's a bit more to my story as well, but I guess we'll kind of dive into that as the cast goes on forward. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. But that is a great segue into the topic of today. So like I always do, I don't necessarily tell my guests the topic until we get actually onto the episode. But the theme that we're going after today is really travel. The philosophy of chilling through travel. And I know that might sound super generic, but there are definitely some intricacies when it comes to people traveling international and even preparing themselves to immerse within a culture that's not necessarily theirs. So I definitely have a lot of questions because you're a culture man, like
Yeah.
travel all over. So my first question is really, where did the passion for getting different cultural experiences come from? Hmm.
All right, sorry, it froze. You said, where did the passion?
Where did your passion, not just to start your business, come from, but where did your passion to have diverse cultural experiences come from?
Um, so actually it started, what year is this? This is like 2016 or 2017. And my younger cousin, he had passed away. Um, and my family, we decided to do a group trip to lay his and my grandfather's ashes. And my grandfather, he's passed away probably for like 10 years before my cousin did. But my grandfather, he worked in the military, and he was stationed out in Dakar, Senegal. And so after he came back, he was like, whenever I die, I want y'all to like spread my ashes here. And so after my cousin passed away, that was kind of when we just like, all right, well, let's use this opportunity now to, kind of make this trip, go with the family. And so literally me and about nine other of my family members, we all went to Dakar, Senegal, and that trip changed my life.
Mm.
I didn't know what to expect, but just the love that I received, from the local folks, the vast similarities between us that, we all people at the end of the day, obviously, especially when we black people too, but we all people at the end of the day, and we're very, very similar. And even just like it was like a sense of warmth with me being out there, a sense of like,
Mm.
you know, belonging, that was just like this
Hmm.
is, and like I was um I was somewhere where like I'm not getting stared at just because I'm like a black dude walking down the street. Like if anything, maybe because my clothes might look a little different, but for the most part, folks wasn't even tripping on me. It was just I'm just somebody else. So I
Yeah.
think that was like just a major culture shock for me. And I was like, wow, there's so much that's out there in the world that most people don't get to experience that I did not experience. And I was like, it made me like hungry to kind of see like what else is out there. Like now I want to know more.
Mm.
I think even before the trip, I've always been like a huge like Animal Planet Nat Geo nerd, and because of that, I always would see these different places all over the world and be like, man, I want to go there one day. I just want to see what
Hmm.
experience it myself. And so like I think those things kind of really met at that moment, and it really showed me that yeah, no, that's something I would really love to do. I think the part where it kind of helps with like or the idea of my travel company also comes in was just the experience that I had with my family, like in that group setting. A lot of us, um, for most of us, that was our first time, either international or first time in Africa. So
Mm.
it was a huge culture shock for all of us, but we all got to, really bond and enjoy that experience together. And it just made it, even more special than I think if
Mm.
I was to be there alone. So it was just very impactful. So it definitely left a lasting impression on me for sure. Yeah.
Nah, that I can definitely see the integral parts because even going back to when you said and acknowledging the fact that you didn't have certain experiences because of the environment that you were around, it's kind of like a daily routine, like the places that you know you must go. But when you actually get a chance to step outside of that bubble and see how other people live, it's like, whoa, there's so many other things that I can be grateful for that I didn't acknowledge before. And then at the same time, like so many other types of fun and experiences that like you can't
Yeah.
even replicate because you're not in the region.
Yeah.
So no, I felt that for real. That kind of that's kind of a similar reason why I got so invested in learning like different cultures and everything else. Um, Simply because I knew like, okay, I know we're living this experience right now in America, but if there's a different type of attachment that I can grow or develop with people outside of my bubble, that lets me know that there's something energetically in alignment with me with the other cultures of this world that I can connect with as well. So
Absolutely.
with that being said, like when you are in these atmospheres and like interacting with different people, whether they be black or not, like how was it for you just to not necessarily have a conversation, but to understand their perspectives on Americans and then apply your knowledge of what is actually going on to them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I think I think a big part of it is like kind of, the mentality that people have when they go places, right? There's people who will go somewhere and it's not really about being around the people or the culture. It's like I'm enjoying this weather and this beach, or I'm enjoying this food, this restaurant, or that it's cheaper, so I'm just doing whatever. And then
Mhm.
there's other people who are more like, nah, like I want to talk to the local people. I want to like know like,
Yeah.
what's your day to day like, man? How are you doing today? What's going on in your world? And then we kind of
Thanks.
those stories, I tell them about my life and
Mhm.
they just tell me about their experiences like that like energized me. It excites me just to learn about other people, hear about those different experiences like we're talking about. Because again, as someone who grew up in Oakland, like most people don't really leave like either the Bay or California. So a
Mhm.
lot of people kind of stay, within the West Coast. And so like going to Howard was like a big thing for me because I was like, I'm going on the opposite coast. I'm experiencing a whole lot of different things, even just with weather, right? And now I'm meeting
Mhm.
people all over the country,
Mhm.
as well as, different places, in the Caribbean or, a lot of folks from Nepal who came to Howard too. And so it was
Yeah.
just like, that's dope. I didn't know that within, the black diaspora, we were so diverse, because what I really was seeing was things that were presented to me through media. And so now
Yeah.
it's just like, man, that was cool. It's cool to just hear about, what people are going through and like what their lives look like, how similar it is, and what some of those distinct differences are. So I think I carried a lot of that with me and like that joy of when I travel and like hearing about that. And I think when the local people like they can tell like, kind of like your energy and everything as well. Like, are you
Mhm.
because some people who travel and they rude or disrespectful or not, not
Yeah.
respecting customs because that's not what they're used to because they do it
Yeah.
well, my country does it like this. Well, you're not in your country, so it's important to understand where you
Ex-
are and meet people, because you visiting them. You know what I'm saying? They
Yeah.
ain't tell you to come to my house. I ain't bring you over here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Facts.
so, and I think when people see, showing that respect and a genuine interest and care, um, and that just that respect, like I think it becomes mutual. Again, not everybody who I've met is, just wants to talk to me or whatever. And I'm sure it's people too, like, oh, he a traveler, like let me get some money out of him. But I definitely think for the most part, like people have been very, very genuine and they've met me reciprocated, kind of where I stand. So I definitely could see that being the case. Yeah.
Nah, I definitely agree with some of the statements you made for sure. Because it can look different for different people, specifically because of the intention that they have for traveling, like you said. But I honestly, me personally, like I say this shit all the time. I'm always down to travel, but I also have a very large understanding of the world. So me personally, I'm not traveling unless you invite me. Like, I need that, what I'm saying? Hey bro, we got the crib for you. You can
Uh,
slide type stuff. I already got the connect, so I know exactly where I'm going. Then we can figure it out from there. Cause I'm not walking in no other country and then the customs try to take me out. Look,
uh,
we'll fight. Hey,
you know
I
yourself
get
in.
locked up.
Yeah. No, that's real though. You gotta know. You gotta know. You can't just be jumping, into the fire, not knowing, if it's gonna burn you or not. You know what I'm saying?
You
So.
feel me? So like I would just say for you, like when you're about to go to another country, whether it be for purely like tourist experiences, like I don't even want to touch the real city. I just want to go and excurge and do all this versus when you're actually like, okay, I do want to understand like what are the actual issues that the natives of this land are going through. Like, what is y'all's day to day? Like, what are the improvements? Because for me, I feel like that's where my invitation would be like that business side of okay, this is what you're doing, this is what we need. Like, come on over here so you can talk to us and chop it up. And I'd be like, cool. But
Mhm.
like for the people that are trying to do the tourist side, what is it in the research that you do through your company that helps you kind of give a kind of like nice little kit of what to prepare for when people are like traveling and stuff like that.
So I think, obviously, you can have a basis of what's provided online. There's a lot of information, some misinformation, but I feel like for the most part, with some sense, you can kind of go through and find quality information to research whatever, destination that you're looking to go to. Um,
Mhm.
I'd say, unless you're going, somewhere very small or, not so popular place for people to travel to. But for the most part, you're going to be able to get to every country and have a lot of information about, things to do, maybe things that you shouldn't wear, um, requirements to enter the country, even things that just are provided off the US government websites. I'd
Mhm.
say another key thing is, talking to people who are either locals or have been there, or me being there myself already, and have already
Mhm.
like, that real experience, right? So like, oh yeah, like, okay, Google and everything is telling you, you go here, 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 but what you really should do, you want to hit this spot, in that spot. You don't even need to hit
Yeah.
there. See something better that's they're not even endorsing. It's something actually that
Mhm.
you don't have to do, or it's something that like this cost. But I'm telling you, it's worth the money. You should do it. And I think
Yeah.
those are like some of the key things that with walk through travel, people can kind of get that information where it's more than just what you find it online. It's like a real plug in terms of like what we really want to know, especially I think as Black people, because our experience traveling is different than the rest of people in the world. It's quite unique, and even
Mhm.
how people interact with us. And so it's
Mhm.
important to like, how can I move? Is it going to be safe for me? How people going to be interacting with me? Because that does affect
Mhm.
if people want to actually go somewhere. Some people may not care, but some people rightfully do. Want to know like what the response is going to be when you go to this Asian country and they ain't used to seeing black people, and you wonder why everybody trying to take a picture of you and touch your hair. You know what I'm saying? Like people need to know these things. You know what I'm saying? So
Thanks.
I think that's another piece with it as well. And then I think the other thing too is depending on where you go, especially if you've never been either out the country, never been to that continent or area, it can be a lot. It's a lot of information to go through. And you sometimes don't know, like, all right, what should I listen to? Because it's like 1,000 websites saying similar things but slightly different things, and I don't really know what to do. I only got 5 days, so how do I pick what I do? And
Hmm.
it's hard for people to kind of do that while still maintaining their life. They got jobs, family, whatever, personal endeavors and things. And so that's another thing that walk through travel can provide, trying to just like that time component, saving time, providing you that information so that we hit you with like the key things that you need to know, and you're like, okay, so this, I bet, well, oh, that makes sense. Oh, I think I want to do that then. All right, well, bet we can set that up, and it kind of goes in that process, and it makes it a lot easier for for certain individuals, given people be busy, it's a lot to do with life, so I think those are like some of the big things.
No, that's definitely key right there because I think some people get lost so much in the tourist activities that they forget like even though it's within a protected area, there's still a way for you to be safe and also experience the actual attractions that the locals favor and consistently go to for whatever reason. Um.
I think about it like this, right? If you from New York, right? A
Mhm.
lot of people all over the world, they want to go to New York and they gonna do whatever touristy things, Times Square, whatever, right? Ride the subway, right? But if you're from New York, you gonna know, like, man, you don't even want to be over there. Like, man, like that's not what you want to do. Like, I'll say, like,
Yeah.
people are like, what are the things that so you can have like a real, you know, authentic but excellent experience. And I think like
Mhm.
people have to consider that nobody's gonna know the area better than someone who either lives there or has lived there for a while or someone that's from there.
Facts.
So it's like that's
Facts.
a big thing. Yeah.
I I there was I had a friend. She went to school in Ghana
Mm.
and she's out there now. And she came back maybe like a couple months ago and she was like, "Man, I don't like America, but let me tell you something. After going over there and staying there for a little bit, I love it. I love the privileges we have in the way in which we operate, even though it's still like not the best version that it could be, it's still better than the experience that one can get outside of the States. So I guess my question to you is what has your experience been when it comes to going domestically within the United States and then internationally? Like how can you see a difference not just within the way people think, but in the way that they converse between each other and like even just um not necessarily their politics, but like their cultural customs. What can you tell like from the American lifestyle that is something where it's like, okay, look, you might think this is trash, this is not the best, whatever, but it's like this over here. So really, you just got to balance out between the two ends.
Yeah. I think again it's like it depends, right? It depends on one, like who are you in America, right? Because again, our experience is different than if we was white. And
X.
so there's a lot of things where like, for example, if I travel to Salt Lake City in Utah, you know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have a very different experience than, if I went to Houston, Texas. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm having a great time in Houston.
Yeah,
But
facts.
it ain't really for me. You know what I'm saying? And part of
Yeah.
that is gonna be like, who are the people? You know, like how are the local people gonna interact with me? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of them I
Mhm.
probably just get stares. You know, when I would go to Portland, Oregon in the summers, growing up, there was a lot of times where I'd be around and I'd have my family around me, so it was like seven of us, young kids, teens, all
Mhm.
black, in a predominantly white area. It's definitely times we get in stares or we deal with racism, and then there's also
Yeah.
times where it's cool and it's love, even from people who aren't black. Like
Mhm.
it's good vibes, so obviously everywhere in America isn't terrible. Everywhere in America isn't dangerous. Everywhere in America isn't racist. There is definitely a lot of positives about being out here. um, but again, it depends on where you go, right? And then similarly,
Right.
like if I go, my experience going to Mexico is gonna be very different than my experience going to Japan. Um,
Yeah.
Mexico, they brown, you know what I'm saying? So we look alike,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of similarities. I know a little bit of Spanish, you know what I'm saying? So we can kind of
Mhm.
have a little bit of a bond by being able to communicate with each other a little bit well. And I think I think that language is like such a core component, like just having like a shared experience with someone. Because if y'all can
Yeah.
communicate like effectively, it's a game changer. You know what I'm saying? Like now you can really
Yeah.
like someone and just interact, engage in general, as opposed to having language.
Mhm.
But I think that's something that's big too. And their view of America is going to be different than people who are in Japan. You know what I'm saying? People in Mexico,
Yeah.
they may either not fuck with America at all, or they might be like, nah, America is like a cool spot. It's a good place for opportunity, a good place to make money, and bring it back to my family. And that's how a lot of
Mhm.
people. But you go to Japan, they be like, Americans are dumb. You know what I'm saying? Like America is dirty. And you know what? After being in Japan, they right. America is dirty. Because when I tell you Japan is one of the cleanest places I've ever been to, bruh, like clean, like they metros, they public bathrooms, like just clean.
Mhm.
Even just I remember I was walking down the street and I saw like it was a older man. Had like he had like a little street vendor set up.
Mhm.
And I saw like a stray piece of litter that probably like blew in from down the street. And I just saw him go all the way walk over to pick it up, and he just held on to it because what you'll see in Japan, like they don't have like a whole bunch of trashes all over the place. So people are
Mhm.
like intentional about like, all right, I'm gonna keep my trash with me and throw it away to when I actually get somewhere. But like, it's like a cultural thing to take pride in keeping, your area, your city clean.
Yeah.
And so I think like those are like some of those like differences that you kind of can really notice, right? Um, but yeah, it just depends on where you go for
Hmm.
but I love both though. I definitely love both.
No, I feel that. I feel it. And I've noticed that too. Like the energy around real estate and like a city community is definitely different. I've understood from different cultures because even within the states, you can tell, of course, certain northern versus southern regions, they take a little bit more pride, but like the first time I experienced pride as a country was definitely a more out of state energy that when I traveled. I think it was like to Italy when I was younger and in Rome and stuff. And the old EF tours, they probably still bump it too. But um, yeah, I went on an EF tour, and like you said, I literally saw somebody pick up trash that wasn't theirs. They saw the person that had accidentally dropped it and they was like, you know what? Let me just pick this up and go throw it in the trash. And I was like, I would never
Yeah.
see that ever in the states unless I'm somewhere up north. Like, what?
Folks not really, but yeah, I think part of it too, right, is like you got a lot of people who live in America that, like may not, they may not have been here for a very long time, right?
Yeah,
I don't mean like, like 5 years, but I mean like it's like families who haven't been here for like over 100 years, right? And even then, that's not as much because again, like you talking about in Italy, like maybe that's a family who's been there, for over 500
Centuries.
years, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that like has a big impact in terms of like, yo, the kind of the pride you take in your country and like what is home to you. Like this is like the land of your ancestors, you know what I'm saying? Like whereas for a lot of Americans that's not the case. And so like
Mhm.
if you don't have somewhere it's like, all right, maybe I own this land and now it's mine. So now I have this sense of pride over it, or like I have this strong sense of community with where I live. So now I have this sense of pride and ownership of it. But if you don't feel that sense of ownership, you're like, man, they littering over
Yeah,
there?
that's real.
Man, these streets dirty. Just dirty. But these not my streets. I just gotta walk them. So it's kind of that perspective, difference in perspective. So
Yeah, no, I definitely get that because kind of segueing a little bit into a different lane.
mm,
Um, the reason why we're able to have this conversation and identify these different points is because not only have we experienced it ourselves, either firsthand or in some sort of variation, but we've also, like we said earlier, have educated ourselves just on the different elements of cultures, or at least opened our minds up to receive more information than what we're used to. So, my question to you is what kind of helped you be in that mental awareness for you to be able to say, okay, this is what I'm used to, like, this is what my community, how we articulate ourselves to people. And although I have my roots in that, I'm going to grow a little bit and have a diverse ideology towards everything that I'm experiencing now. And kind of not necessarily code switch, but just shift your articulation to different experiences with that knowledge in mind.
honestly, I think I guess I don't know if I can speak for everybody, but I know like for me it's more so like it's a choice. It's a decision that I choose to maintain, to like want to be open. And I will say part of it too is like if you have a certain experience and it's positive, it's going to encourage you to have more similar experiences, right? And so I think
Mm-hmm.
especially like if the first experience I had was really positive, if I had one or two negative experiences after, I'd still be willing to try, right? As opposed to I have one really bad experience. I'm like, man, I'm never leaving this country again. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
Yeah.
that can make a difference. But yeah, I think it's just the choice of, like I want to learn about other places. And I've just kind of, again, as a kid, like I always kind of had that natural curiosity. Like I say, Animal Planet, Nat Geo, like I was watching that regular, like that in
Thanks.
cartoons, like that was my thing. So, um, I think like just that kind of probably is like where some of those seeds were planted. And then,
Mm-hmm.
as I've just gotten older and had experiences, it's starting to bloom, more and more. But yeah, I think like, it's fun for me, now. Like I thoroughly enjoy it. It's something that, it's fun for me to do, and it makes me even happier to be able to help other people have those experiences. 'Cause
Mm-hmm.
I think it can really change, your whole perspective on the world. Because again, like I said, growing up, it was really just California and the West Coast. So like every
Mm-hmm.
time like going somewhere that's bigger than my block, it's just like, damn, like the way I view the world is different now. It's not
Yeah.
just 51st and Bancroft. Now it's like, damn, now it's Cali, and then damn, now it's the East Coast and the West Coast. Damn, now it's
Mm-hmm.
so it's all that. But yeah, I think it's just perspective. Like that's kind of what keeps me at it, and I just enjoy it.
No, I feel that. Okay, so we're getting to the last couple seconds of the interview. Well, not really an interview. This is really purposed to be
Discussion.
episodes where you just have ideologies being shared back and forth. Like, and honestly, this conversation has been really good, and it can keep going. But I always say they gotta go at some point. So, I'm gonna ask one last question, and then at the end, I typically hand off the mic or the platform to my guests, and they can ask any question they would like, any question that they've always wanted to ask me, or whether it be pertaining to the topic or just in general. So I guess my last question would be, well, I have two. Okay, so let me do the first one, and then I'll go into that one. So my first, second to last question: What are some not what are some strategies you've developed to kind of remind yourself, not necessarily just in the tough season, but just in general, to keep that type of mentality open? Because I know sometimes when we get into our daily routines and responsibilities, it can definitely wash over, like, oh, I just want it my way, or I just want this to turn out according to my vision. Like, I don't really care about nothing else. I just need to work out like this. So, like, how do you keep yourself not necessarily just calm, but receptive to other people's, contributions or and perspectives and everything else as you get older?
And this is in general, like in general,
Mm-hmm.
just I think
In general, or just with traveling.
I say like for in general, I think what's something that's important is, which I didn't do most of like my time growing up, but to acknowledge, and to acknowledge how you feel and understand that the way you feel is valid. Whether it's, you frustrated that things aren't going how you planned, or, whether like, you're disappointed that something happened a certain way, or you're excited as hell, but like let yourself feel these things, give yourself some time to actually process it. And then like, all right, now what are we gonna do? But I think something that I really struggled with was like
Oh, that
not,
was a good one.
I didn't allow myself to, feel, and I just, but all right, well, let me just power through, or like, man, fuck, I
Mm-hmm.
don't care about it for real. When knowing damn well I do care, and so I think like that was kind of like an important step. And then I'm in a better position, like mentally, with myself, so that now if somebody else is saying something to me, whether we agree or disagree, I'm going to be more receptive. Or, maybe someone like, hey, this isn't working how you wanted it to, but this is our option. So now it's like, all right, I'm disappointed. I'm frustrated that, this didn't work necessarily how I wanted it to. But now what I'm gonna do now? Like it, I can't go back in time. Like this is just the circumstances I'm dealt with, regardless of whatever happened, whether it's my fault, not my fault. So it's just like after I acknowledge how I feel, what are we going to do now? And then you just make the best decision that you can through that, and you just kind of keep repeating that process. And I think again, like the emotions that you experience, it can be a roller coaster. It's going to be ebbs and flows, but you just got to give yourself some time to process, and then you keep going. Like then you take that next step. But life don't stop. You know what I'm saying? No matter how good or how bad things get, life is always gonna keep going. So you have to be able to keep going too. But it's a balance of that. And I'd say in terms of like with travel, I think a big thing is like flexibility. Flexibility. You got to know that whenever you're going somewhere, whenever you plan something, especially for travel, things are more than likely like 99% of the time not gonna go exactly how you plan. Like something's going to, whether it's delays, with transportation, or whether it's something with your accommodations, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's your energy. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you just real tired that day, or maybe it's like I'm catching a cold, or my stomach don't feel right. Like whatever it may
Mm-hmm.
be, you got to be flexible and understanding that like these things may not go as planned, and got to be okay with that. So I think like when it comes to travel, I think like that's just kind of that perspective of like I really want this, but if it doesn't happen, it'll be okay because we're gonna do some of these other things, or we got backup plans or whatever other options. So I think that's like what I'd say in terms of general and for travel.
Those are great ones. And I know, well, yeah. So, I'll be on the bucket list too. So I be trying not to do the dream drop. So I be pointing at the camera when it really be some shit. And man, them tips are really some shit for sure. Cause it because I was talking to somebody and they were like, bro, some of this stuff just be sounding cliche. And I was like, yeah, it do sound cliche until you understand why the cliche was made the way it was. Like, it takes so many layers out of it, but once you experience it, it makes so much sense. Like,
Literally, it's funny you say that because my younger siblings they call me an old head all the time. I got a 9 and 12 year gap between my siblings, and they're like, "You sound like our parents." You know what I'm saying? You sound like mom. You sound like dad. I'm like, well, you know what? They right. And I remember I said that one time. My parents heard and looked, and I felt disgusted with myself. I was like, ugh, young me would be so disappointed. But then you get older, you experience some shit. You like, damn. Oh, right. Like then we do got food at home. Yes, we do. Yes, let me look
yeah,
at my
we
house.
do.
We got food at home. Yeah, nah. We gonna skip Burger King. We gonna skip In and Out today. But like
Uh-huh.
just a thing. As you get older, you really, like you said, recognize why these cliches were made, why they were passed down from generations, because that should apply for real.
Yeah. And like you said, like the application of it doesn't change. It's just
Mhm.
the situation that makes you recognize it and be aware of it that is
Yeah,
life. So
life.
with that being said, okay, my last question, I promise.
So,
So
yeah.
with um okay, it's walk through travel, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so with walk through travel, what's like what was the moment that you had the vision to create it, and then what was it like to experience the evolution of the ups and downs of the business to the point where you also knew this might be a turning point for me to either let this go or keep this going? How did you get from point A to point B and then choose how you move forward?
That's a great question. Nobody's ever asked me that.
Sure.
So I guess to start with, like, kind of what really birthed walk through travel. So obviously I already talked to like some of the experiences that I had growing up and kind of,
Mhm.
what got me to the mentality that I had as it comes to travel and
Mhm.
experiences like that. But what really did it was in in 2019, I was planning like my birthday trip. And I wanted to go to Bali. I was like,
Mhm.
bucket list thing. So I was planning it out. I had friends who were interested in going. So I'm planning it. It's my birthday, but I'm gonna tell y'all what's up, and we can all slide. And
Mhm.
obviously, in 2020, the pandemic hit, and so everything got shut down. And so
Mhm.
I was like, well, Bali's cooked, and I was just like, ain't nothing I can do. But as we got further throughout the year in 2020, there were certain countries that were open, like Mexico. And so I think like this is like probably like by the end of the summer, I was like, man, everybody was kind of going through it during the pandemic, kind of being on lockdown and everything. I was like, bro, I gotta get out. Like I need to like feed this urge to, travel or just be outside of here and dealing with this. And I was like, all right, where can I go? And I was like, well, Mexico's open. Like, I could go to Playa del Carmen, right between Cancun and Tulum. And I was like, man, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to Mexico. And I was like, yeah, let me plan this out, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like thinking about, things I want to do, what's available, doing my research because again, it's a pandemic, you know what I'm saying? So I want to make sure like I'm safe with things too. And then like as I'm basically done planning it, I was like, oh wait, maybe some of my friends might want to go because it was like 10 people who was talking about coming for my birthday. um
Mhm.
Let me just ask them, let me see who wants to go. And I think it's funny because everyone was like, oh, I need to get out too, like I'm going crazy in the house, I got to get out of here, oh, we about to go, let's do it. So everybody kind of came, they was matching my energy. And you know the birthday trips basically still ended up happening. We just kind of changed destinations from Bali to Mexico. And we had a wonderful time. And basically by the end of the trip, everyone was like, "Oh, damn, James, like you did a good job planning this trip. Like, everything was taken care of. We didn't have to think about nothing, worry about nothing. All we had to do was just pay and have a great time." And I was like, and it was like, bro, you should do this more. Like, if you did it again, I would slide. And I was like, damn, maybe I should do this again. And I was like, it's not a bad idea. So
Mhm.
it's a blessing that everything happened how it did. Um, it's a blessing to have good friends in your life as well that can, maybe find, I guess, skills or talents that you didn't even realize that you had, help you uncover passions and things. And literally from that moment, I was like, you know what? I am gonna do something with it. And so literally, I spent, that time between October 2020 to like January of 2021, like figuring out like, all right, how am I gonna create walkthrough travel? Like, what am I gonna do? What is like, what am I like? What is this business supposed to even be? Like, I'm just gonna take niggas out the country? Like, sound like kidnapping. You got to be a little more articulate about it than that. You know what I'm saying? So, I actually put it together in terms of like, some of the things that I want to do. What were some things that I enjoyed? What were some things I was passionate about? What could I actually provide for people? Who was my target demographic? Being like young black professionals, especially, or black families. Um, and kind of through that process by January, I was like, bro, I don't know if this is ready, blah blah blah. And then I remember I was either talking to a friend or I saw something or just like, you know, one of the biggest things, you don't have to be perfect to start something. You're never, some people you might be LeBron James and you already great at basketball, but like you're never gonna be like perfect, when you start something. So just start it, just do it and improve as you go about it. And the other thing is, I started in 2021, so the pandemic was still going on. Lockdown still going on. I was like, you know what? This is a crazy time to be doing this, but it gives me some time to kind of like, learn what I want to do. I doubt it'll be so crazy and busy. So, I guess I got some time, you know what I'm saying? To figure it out for myself and without having like hella pressure of, like, oh, I gotta do this and this, and like, because it's a pandemic, so it's only so much I could probably really do. And then through that, I had a lot of ups and downs from learning experiences. Like literally, the first trip that I wanted to do, it was actually going back to Mexico, and I ended up having to cancel the trip because just a lot of people backed out, and so like that taught me, a tip in terms of how to run the business, how to run the finances with it, how to run payment plans, things I needed to improve. I took a hit. I took a hit on canceling the trip too because I had already paid for the lodging, so I only got a partial refund. So I was hurt. I was like, damn, I'm down bad. But then the very next trip I had, it was going to the DR, and that was an amazing trip. Amazing
Mm,
trip. You know, I had a great time, and so like again, it was just like try not to be like get too high or too low with things. Learning from everything I do, whether it's again also I plan trips for people too, so I don't even have to go on them. And so going through experience
mm,
with I'm planning trips for people and find out like what about this process of me planning this for y'all did y'all enjoy? Like what was beneficial? Making sure I do service, making sure I do thank you so people understand like I'm grateful. Like, I don't have no business unless y'all come to me and reach out. Um,
right.
and so making sure like it's just a whole lot of different things that I'm learning, not just about travel, but also just about how to run a business as well. Um,
Hmm.
so I think like that was just a lot. It was a lot of like ups and downs with those first couple years. And then a big thing for me was launching my website. So like that was like a big thing because as I've gone through the ups and downs, I'm like, all right, I need to figure out a way that I can like mitigate some of these issues as it pertains to payment or people like being able to see my business and know that it's a valid business and not just something that you see on Instagram that could be maybe a scam. Like I
Hmm.
need something there that like really cemented me as like a real business. Like
Hmm.
yeah, I got an LLC, but don't nobody care you got an LLC if that it don't look like you official. And
Yeah,
so
if you ain't popping, shit.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, I don't know you, you know what I'm saying? And but that's
Yeah.
that's a valid perspective for someone who's a customer, right? So
Hmm.
like, those are like things to consider. So I think definitely a big high for me was when I was able to launch my website last year. Shout out to my bro Jalil Design.
Hmm.
But that really like took me to the next level, I think, in terms of like how people were able to contact me, the way I was able to run my business and provide certain services, leveraging payment plans so that people can go through my website and have a payment plan for anything that they want to buy. And that made it a lot easier for, my target demographic was, sometimes folks ain't got it all up front, or, maybe some people do, but not everybody in the group. And now you got a way to kind of mitigate that and, kind of solve some of the problems for people. Um, so I think that was like another big thing. And like for right now, like I'd say like, this year I wouldn't really say it's a low, but it's different. Whereas like last year, I had more trips and everything planned. This year, I'm saving to buy property, so I'm not doing 3 trips this year. I'm only doing one trip at the end of the year. Going to the Northern Lights, Iceland and Norway, and then Amsterdam. It's gonna be a vibe.
Woo.
Be a vibe. But
That's gonna be soul changing right there.
that's bucket list, you know.
You feel
Uh,
me?
but like that was something too, where it's like as I've gone through the ups and downs, like I learned like, all right, I can probably do one big trip, but I can't do three. Whereas,
Mhm.
my first trip, I'm like, well, I guess I could probably do three. Like I don't know no better. So like kind of being able to take those experiences and learn from them in that way. Um, and like now it's a little different because I'm only doing one trip, so it's like it's a it's less like work that I have going on like consistently. And until like, I have clients who reach out, then I'm planning a trip for them. But that process is a lot easier for me than, planning a trip that I have to go on and, getting people for that and everything. But I think again, it's just kind of like recognizing like, it's just different. It's not necessarily a low, it's just different. We still like doing well, we still making profit, and like that's big. I'm a business that's, 3 years in, I'm still around, and that's rare. It's hard to be to sustain your business for that long. And so like I think sometimes when I have like moments where I'm like, damn man, I'm trying to leave the corporate world and just focus on this. I'm trying to do blah blah blah. I also have to take time to reflect and be like, damn, bro, like 3 years ago, you was trying to do this, didn't know what you was doing, and look at you now. And, understanding that that is success. What I'm saying? Doing things that you wish you were able to do. That's success. So
Ooh.
I say, yeah, it's been ups and downs without the process, but I feel very, very blessed with the opportunities I've been provided, the friends that I've either already had or been able to make, the people that I've gotten to know, the network that I've built that's international, and people that we stay in contact with us on Instagram or WhatsApp or whatever. And I think like that's something that's exciting just to have. I got a friend in DR, a friend in Barbados, what I'm saying, a friend in Italy, like that's cool. A friend in Thailand, like that's cool. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for it all. Most definitely.
Well, I appreciate you because you was definitely dropping some good ones in that one. I can't lie. That was a great answer. That was a great answer. Nah, for
All
sure though. Like I'm gonna give you a props where props is due. Like you
right,
did that one. That was good.
man. Hey, it's just living life, right? Understanding
Exactly.
the shades and whatnot, but it's a lot to learn from it. So now it's my turn to ask you a
Nah,
question,
for
right?
real. So honestly, like before we end the episode, because I'm gonna still pass the platform off to you,
Okay.
so you
Okay.
can ask me a question and everything else. But I do just want to go ahead and thank you for your time, because really this conversation brought out a lot of the intricacies when it comes to not just traveling domestically but internationally as well. So
Mhm.
definitely grateful for that. So without further
Thank,
ado, the
thank you
platform
for
is
having
now
me.
yours. You can ask me anything you want to.
For sure, for sure. Well, again, thank you for having me. This has been fun. Obviously we know each other friends, so we be talking and whatnot already, but I think it was fun to kind of use your platform and kind of have this type of discussion. So I
Mhm.
definitely enjoyed it. And again, I appreciate you for even thinking of having me be, a co-host for, a little feature for now.
For sure.
Since we kind of on the topic of like with travel and everything, I
Mhm.
guess my question to you is like, how do you feel travel has impacted your life and like some of your experiences that have, made you who you are now?
So you said what were my travel experiences that
Yeah, yeah.
made
So
me who I am now?
how has travel like impacted, your life and, some of the experiences to help make you who you are now?
That was a good question. Um, oh man.
Domestic and
Uh,
international, both.
What'd you say?
I'm saying domestically and international. Like, so traveling
Yeah,
just like outside of
for,
ATL.
for sure. Honestly, like I move a lot.
Mhm.
Like it's taken me quite some time to realize how much I move, but I do move at a very quick pace and I do a lot at one time naturally, which is crazy because I don't be trying to do that, but that's what winds up happening every time. Like it is no fail. So I say all that to say, like I've been pretty much a lot of places domestically. Internationally, I still have a lot more places to be, but like I said earlier, the reason why I haven't traveled internationally as much as I've traveled domestically is because I've researched different countries before I've had the chance to actually visit them. So like I've gotten a history book that's talking about the history of Japan and what China had to go through in their cultural system to get to where they are now. And it's like it's opened my mindset to understanding the importance of why you have to meet people where they are. And even more to that point, like it's opened my mind to be able to acknowledge where people are in a sense. Like because of all the different experiences I've had and just being the person that I am, like everybody ain't ready to have a conversation with me. Like, and I've picked up on that uh along the years because I've had to realize like I don't really talk about things on a surface level. Like I kind of get deep by accident. So it's I can't really have the types of conversations I want with everybody. So because of that, I've had to just be able to observe and take note of okay, this is this person's personality. Like they're not doing it because it's intentional. This is just what they've been used to because of their environment and this is how they're
Yeah.
expressing it. So yeah, so it's kind of like okay, this is where you're at. I can still have fun while I'm here. Like we ain't gotta walk out of this thing besties, but we at
Right.
least want to have a good time. You feel me? So that's kind of like how it's molded me. It's just giving me the chance to be like, okay, really take in your surroundings. Who can you identify with intellectually? Who is it that you just need to be able to listen to what they actually mean? Because sometimes, especially with like different accents and everything, like it'll come off one way, and I'd be like, watch yourself. Like, what's up with you? But then I'd be like, oh no, this is how we talk, and da da da. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, right, you feel me? So it's definitely impacted me on that because it really helped me build my patience. Because
Mhm.
at when I was much younger, like I've always been like an observer, but when I would get upset, I didn't care who it was. I Let's deal with it directly. What's up? Like you said this, you said that. What's the problem? Like let's talk about it. We can come to a solution together. You feel me? But everybody ain't accustomed to that. So I'm just like, okay. It made me literally sit back and be like, all right, so feel what you're feeling, yes. Like you said earlier, feel what you feel. But once you're going through that feeling process, it also isn't justifying you immediately going into action. Like just slow down a little bit and try to see like, okay, where are they really coming from? Because they could be frantic themselves and just be spitting. So that's really how it impacted me for sure.
It's amazing. I think it's really cool to that you touched on that, just like, how your experiences and, being exposed to new and different things, different people, it helps you, have a better understanding of people, of the world, how to interact and engage, with people and in the world. I think that's important, because again, when people don't have the privilege to be exposed to certain things, especially in like a positive way, it impacts their scope in terms of how they view the world. Some people they view the world as just they city, and not
Hmm.
to diss that or anything, but you realize that world is so much bigger than just your city. Like there's so much more. There's so much more going on than just you know the presidential election in the U.S. right now. And I will say it's crazy, and it does impact the world in a lot of ways. But there's so many other places that are going through their own things that it's someone that's in. You said you got a friend in Ghana, but like it's someone who's from Ghana that's going through something right now that's completely unique to just their environment, and kind of being exposed to it just allows you to be like, hmm, I can be open and kind of hear you out and understand you, and it makes a difference. I think it's a beautiful thing for people to be able to understand each other, you know, and connect in
For
that way.
sure. No, I definitely agree because that's honestly like every space that I've been in, whether however I wound up in there, I think that's been one of the biggest things that I've started to recognize recently, like maybe within the past 2, 3 years, where people will say to me like, yo, I had a certain perception of the labels that I readily recognize you as. And I'd be like, okay, I mean, I'm chilling, bro. Like, I'm really not that, it's
Yeah.
not that deep. Like, just, you know what I'm saying? And they've been able to tell me, like, because of meeting you and interacting with you, like, you have given me, like, a different perspective on these types of interactions, and it's giving me that positive interaction like you said to open myself up a little bit more to be more comfortable asking questions or saying this or saying that, and it's like that's what I guess that's what I'm here for. Shit.
I think that's cool too. You can impact people positively just by being you. That's dope. That's dope in
Shit, I
itself.
hope so.
So
But if you had any more questions, let me know.
I don't think so. I don't think I got any more, but I've definitely this was nice. This actually was a great way for me to kind of get into my weekend. I appreciate you again just for even thinking of me and being able to
Yeah,
talk
of
like
course.
I'm gonna hit your line soon, so I'll talk
Yeah,
to you soon. Like
for sure.
so,
So with that being said, we really just been chilling, man. We just chopping it
I
up, having a good conversation, and we can keep going after this. But as always, y'all gotta go. So without further ado, it's been me, Done Love to Connect, and
James Walker, walk through travel.
you feel me? So we'll see y'all later. Y'all can tune in for another episode. Y'all know where to go. So with that, we out.
Peace.
Peace.